Chapter 71. There were quite a few pills, a total of 12 bottles, perhaps because the Yen family cultivators lived in the poisonous marshes for a long time, where there were many poisonous insects and beasts. Half of these pills were various detoxifying and healing pills. Among them, there were 2 bottles of qi-gathering pills, totaling 20 pills. There was also 1 bottle of spirit-nourishing pills, 10 pills. From one of the storage bags, Songwen found a bottle of a special pill called poison forging pill, a type of pill Songwen had never heard of before, and he didn't know its purpose. Songwen also acquired 2 sets of cultivation techniques. One was called Profound Poison Scripture, the main poison cultivation technique of the Yen family. A qi refining technique, but it only contained content up to the foundation establishment stage. Songwen had no intention of cultivating the Profound Poison Scripture. Although the Corpse King blood refining technique given by Shi Shou might have certain hidden dangers, Songwen had no plans to switch to other techniques. His physical body could devour essence and blood. Body refining techniques were the most suitable for him. As for the hidden dangers left by Shi Shou, Songwen still couldn't guess what they were, but some things couldn't be avoided. Whether he cultivated the Corpse King blood refining technique or not, Shi Shou would definitely come for him. It was better to seize all the time to cultivate. Only with strong strength could he face unknown dangers. This profound poison scripture contained complete qi refining techniques. Songwen looked down on it, but if he put it on the market, it would attract the attention of wandering cultivators. Songwen planned to sell it in the market for some spirit stones. The other technique was called 10,000 Poison Body, not a qi refining technique but a secret technique for body forging. It was a method that utilized various deadly toxins to refine the body. The 10,000 Poison Body intrigued Songwen somewhat. According to the outline of the technique, not only could it greatly enhance the cultivator's physical body, but it could also make the cultivator immune to most toxins. When cultivated to a high realm, it could even achieve the legendary state of being impervious to 10,000 poisons. However, Songwen felt that the technique might be exaggerating. There were countless toxins in the cultivation world, and claiming to be impervious to 10,000 poisons seemed overly exaggerated. What truly attracted Songwen to the technique was its ability to immunize against toxins. Once cultivated to a certain realm, it could immunize against most toxins, which already made Songwen intrigued. The poison forging pill he found was a unique poison pill refined by the Yen family used for cultivating the 10,000 Poison Body. However, cultivating the 10,000 Poison Body did not necessarily require consuming the poison forging pill. Other toxic substances could also be used as substitutes. The 10,000 Poison Body and the poison forging pill were discovered together from the same storage bag, which also contained a jade slip recording cultivation insights of the 10,000 Poison Body. At this moment, Songwen finally understood why Yanfeng's speed was significantly faster than ordinary cultivators and how he could withstand a direct hit from a Heavenly Thunder talisman without dying. Yanfeng's cultivation talent was average, but his cultivation of the 10,000 Poison Body was unusually smooth, which greatly strengthened his physical body beyond that of ordinary cultivators. Because of this, his speed and defense were much stronger than ordinary cultivators. In addition, 9 magic tools were found in the 6 storage bags. However, these magic tools needed to be used in conjunction with poison techniques to exert their maximum effect. Among them, Songwen picked out a set of medium-grade magic tools, a pair of mother and child poison needles. There were 6 mother needles in total, each about half a foot long. Each mother needle concealed 10 fine child needles as thin as hair strands. When facing enemies, Songwen could control the mother needle with his spiritual power to erupt the child needles at any time when the distance was close enough. Suddenly launching the child needles made it nearly impossible to defend against a highly sinister weapon. Since Songwen did not cultivate poison techniques to maximize the lethal potential of the mother and child poison needles, he needed to apply highly toxic substances to them. The Yen family colluded with the 9 Palaces sect, betraying the Corpse Demon sect. The entire clan of 83,272 people, from wailing infants to elderly, was annihilated by the Corpse Demon sect. This included not only ordinary people without spiritual roots unable to cultivate, but also the Yen family's foundation establishment ancestors and Yen Zheng, who had achieved qi refinement perfection. The news of the Yen family's annihilation shocked all major powers and countless cultivators throughout the Tuatsong mountain range. What was truly shocking wasn't the destruction of a small foundation establishment family, but rather that the 9 Palaces sect dared to intervene in the Corpse Demon sect's territory. The Nine Palaces sect is a righteous sect whose influence extends beyond the Tuatsong mountain range. The Tuatsong mountain range is a gathering place for demonic forces and rogue cultivators. For the Nine Palaces sect to intervene in the affairs of the Corpse Demon sect, could this lead to a showdown between righteousness and evil? The Corpse Demon sect is located around Corpse Demon Peak on the outskirts of the Tuatsong mountain range, closer to various righteous sects. During every clash between righteousness and evil, this area becomes the frontline battleground. Rumors of the upcoming clash between righteousness and evil within the Corpse Demon sect did not cause much commotion internally, but the fervor among wandering cultivators continued to intensify. Most wandering cultivators are not very powerful and belong to the bottom layer of the cultivation world. They are lone wolves who prefer to fight on their own, making it difficult to form a strong force. After news of the Yen family's annihilation spread, Song Wen's house arrest was lifted. His first action was to seek an audience with Elder Shin in the pill room. From Elder Shin, Song Wen learned that nearly the entire Yen family had been massacred. After all, cutting off the root of the grass is a principle well understood by the demonic path. However, there were some who escaped. Yen Yiwen, the most talented of the Yen family's generation, managed to flee. By now, she had likely joined the Nine Palaces sect and become an inner disciple. Upon hearing this news, Song Wen felt terrible. Yen Yiwen's survival meant she posed a significant threat to him. If she were to achieve cultivation success one day and seek revenge for her family, the Corpse Demon sect would be her first target, and Song Wen would likely be her second. However, these were all future concerns. For now, Yen Yiwen posed no immediate threat to Song Wen. Not all the news from Elder Shin was bad, though. A Golden Core elder of the Corpse Demon sect used Yen Tiangong's essence and blood to perform a blood Dao secret technique, identifying and eliminating all those within the sect who possessed Yen family bloodline. This ensured there were no remnants of the Yen family within the Corpse Demon sect, which was undoubtedly good news for Song Wen, at least within the sect. He no longer had to worry about Yen family remnants plotting against him. From Elder Shin, Song Wen also learned why the Yen family risked annihilation by colluding with the Nine Palaces sect. Yen Tiangong was aging, and the Yen family had yet to produce a strong foundation establishment cultivator. This forced them to take risks, using the rainbow grass as leverage to exchange for cultivation resources and foundation establishment pills from the Nine Palaces sect. Once the Yen family's patriarch passed away without a strong foundation establishment cultivator, they would inevitably lose control of the Poison Swamp's assets to other foundation establishment families under the Corpse Demon sect's jurisdiction. Furthermore, previous grudges and the resentment of cultivators who had been mistreated would come back to haunt them. By then, the annihilation of the Yen family would be a foregone conclusion. End of the chapter. Chapter 72. Before leaving, Elder Shin rewarded Song Wen with 500 spirit stones as a reward for his contributions to the sect. After leaving Elder Shin's place, before it got dark, Song Wen headed towards the market square. He sold the unused scrolls, the profound poison scripture, and 8 unused storage bags to shops, totaling 1650 spirit stones. The 8 scrolls sold for 850 spirit stones, 8 storage bags for 200 spirit stones, and the profound poison scripture for 600 spirit stones. Song Wen also signed a sole contract with the shop that purchased the cultivation techniques. Besides personal cultivation or teaching close relatives, Song Wen couldn't pass on the profound poison scripture. Although the shop's prices were low, it saved Song Wen a lot of trouble. At this point, Song Wen had over 6,000 spirit stones on him, undoubtedly a huge sum for a chi refinement cultivator with such a large amount of spirit stones. Song Wen naturally planned to purchase some cultivation resources. After browsing the market square, Song Wen bought chi gathering pills and corpse chi elixirs necessary for cultivation. He also purchased items like bright silver stones, purple moon orchid, and green spirit grass for nurturing goo, which had greatly contributed during his recent outing. This further strengthened Song Wen's determination to cultivate goo, hoping one day to breed the sacred goo that even foundation establishment cultivators coveted. Additionally, he bought some poisonous spirit herbs from Yanfeng's storage bag. He learned that 10,000 poison body could roughly be divided into 4 stages: entry, proficiency, minor completion, and major completion. Yanfeng had cultivated this technique to the proficiency stage, allowing him to ingest and refine poisons. As a newcomer who had yet to start, the best way for Song Wen to cultivate 10,000 poison body was through poison baths. He also bought a black iron coffin to use for the poison bath. Originally, he wanted to buy a tub or a bronze furnace, but either the materials didn't meet his requirements or the price was too high. In the end, he settled for the most common coffin in the market square. Suitable for use as a tub, after all, the corpse demon sect was a sect of corpse cultivation, and coffins were the most common tool used for cultivating and training corpses. Songwon had initially wanted to buy some emergency life-saving items but ended up empty-handed. Even the thunder talisman he bought last time was a stroke of luck. Emergency life-saving items were things that every cultivator kept hidden and rarely brought out for trade. Lastly, Songwon purchased materials for cultivating corpses before returning to his cave dwelling. These materials cost him over 600 spirit stones in total, enough for him to cultivate for a period. The corpse puppet was heavily damaged and needed to be remade. Its current strength was somewhat inadequate for him. With sufficient spirit stones, Songwon planned to enhance its power. Back at his cave dwelling, Songwon placed the corpse puppet into a large red coffin used for nurturing corpses. He then added in yellow soil, in Ming, grass, corpse chi elixirs, and other refining materials, along with the blood essence stolen from the corpse dissecting cave. Songwon began to perform the corpse refining technique, forging and refining the corpse puppet. In just a moment, the large red coffin emitted a black corpse chi, gradually becoming denser and enveloping the corpse puppet completely. Although the corpse puppet's physical body was now repaired after an hour, its aura had not fully recovered to its strongest state. Similar to cultivation, refining the corpse puppet couldn't be achieved in one go. It required long-term nurturing and repeated refining. Songwon closed the lid of the large red coffin, letting the corpse puppet rest inside. He then took out the black iron coffin, filled it with clear water, and according to Yen Feng's instructions in the jade slip, added various poisonous spirit herbs. Songwon dug a hole beneath the black coffin, placed wood inside, lit a fire, and began brewing the poison bath. After 3/4 of an hour, the liquid in the black coffin boiled vigorously, bubbles bursting one after another, and a faint toxic gas evaporated, permeating the cave dwelling. At this point, the medicine is considered to be preliminarily brewed. Extinguish the fire. Songwon took off his clothes and jumped into the black coffin. Hiss. The scalding hot liquid made Songwon involuntarily gasp for cool air. His originally pale skin instantly turned red, as if being boiled alive. Gritting his teeth, Songwon took a deep breath and fully submerged himself into the coffin, where the faint green liquid gradually engulfed him. With the high temperature, the toxins in the liquid began to corrode his flesh. Tiny bloodstains appeared all over his body, and the toxins seeped into his internal organs through these wounds. Enduring immense pain, Songwon struggled to maintain his consciousness. Following the techniques of the 10,000 poison body, he circulated his mana, guiding the toxins inside his body along the prescribed routes, gradually strengthening his physical body. Several minutes later, the unbearable pain almost made Songwon lose his grip. He surfaced, emitting a painful roar. Without giving up, Songwon took another breath and submerged himself again in the liquid. Half an hour later, the faint green liquid in the black iron coffin became clear, and its temperature cooled down. Songwon climbed out of the coffin, countless long wounds covering his entire body, making him look as if he had just undergone severe torture, a terrifying sight. He glanced at the residual liquid in the coffin that had lost its medicinal properties, feeling lingering fear. No wonder there are so few body-refining cultivators in the cultivation world. This refining process is too painful, almost self-destructive. Previously, when he cultivated the blood refinement art of the Corpse King, he had thought it was painful enough, but compared to the 10,000 poison body, the pain of cultivating the former seemed insufficient. The most painful aspect of body refining for cultivators is swallowing precious materials or foreign blood essence, absorbing their essence, and refining their own internal organs and bone marrow to enhance their vitality. Although Songwon absorbed the essence of others' blood directly to increase his vitality, it was still much less painful than the extreme agony he had just experienced, having just experienced extreme pain. Songwon knew he couldn't continue cultivating the 10,000 poison body today in martial arts. One must alternate between exertion and rest. If he disregarded his physical limits and continued cultivating the 10,000 poison body, there might be a risk of physical collapse. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. It wasn't something everyone could afford to cultivate. The spiritual herbs consumed in the recent bath alone were worth 8 spirit stones, which could compare to the monthly salary of some outer disciples. After taking a healing pill, Songwon began to adjust his state using the blood refinement art of the Corpse King, partly to heal his wounds and partly to recuperate. A night passed quickly in cultivation. The next morning, Songwon arrived at the corpse dissecting cave on time. Having completed the sect mission and now free from confinement, he needed to continue his daily work of dissecting corpses. Seeing Songwon, who had been absent for many days, suddenly appear, Yuan Qing didn't ask much and directly handed him over 100 corpses, then ignored him. End of the chapter. Chapter 73. Cultivation knows no years, and in the blink of an eye, a year and a half had passed. Although Songwon was not the slowest corpse dissector in the profession anymore, he still habitually arrived early at the corpse dissection cave. Today, the first corpse he dissected was a young female wanderer in the foundation building stage. As he peeled away the woman's clothes and exposed her slender and fair body, a sudden impulse surged within him, a bloodthirsty impulse. He wanted to tear and shred this beautiful corpse apart, just like a wild beast tearing into its prey. His skin gradually turned ash gray, resembling iron gray in places. His fingers and nails became sharp and elongated, and two fangs gradually protruded from the corners of his mouth. A thick and intense corpse aura billowed in his breath. In the blink of an eye, Songwon transformed into the appearance of an aged zombie. His eyes also began to roll back, devoid of human rationality, filled only with primal madness. Suddenly, Songwon bent down and took a bite out of the female corpse. Songwon's abnormal behavior attracted the attention of the surrounding corpse dissectors, who turned their heads one after another, some indifferent, some pitying, and some watching with interest. Perhaps sensing the gazes of many dissectors, the irrational Songwon felt something unusual and raised his head to the sky, roaring, roar. Songwon's actions resembled those of a wild beast protecting its food. Among the dissectors, there was a corpulent and ugly female dissector, her face full of horizontal flesh, looking extremely ugly. Her eyes shone brightly. Filled with a clear and radiant water-like light, she murmured softly, "I never thought that the usually submissive Ji-in would have such a bold and irritable side. It's irresistible to me." The female dissector, as ugly as a pig, no, as ugly as an old so, suddenly blushed, her expression unusually excited. She opened her mouth wide, revealing yellowed large teeth, and excitedly shouted, "Ji-in, continue, The woman's roar was like a thunderclap in Songwon's ears, causing his eardrums to ache. Like an enraged beast, Songwon's panting suddenly became deeper and heavier, as if he could erupt at any moment. Just as many dissectors thought Songwon was about to act recklessly, preparing to watch a good show, Songwon's eyes suddenly cleared, his consciousness instantly restored, and his corpse transformation began to fade away. This left many dissectors disappointed. Shaking their heads, there was no more spectacle to behold. Dissecting corpses was tedious and depressing work, and it was a rare entertainment for them when a dissector lost their sanity. But this kid probably won't live much longer. If he falls into such madness again next time, he may not be able to come back to his senses. Songwon looked at the disappointed dissectors around him and saw a different figure among them, that corpulent and bold female dissector. The female dissector threw him what she thought was a charming glance, but it actually made him shudder deeply. He turned his head away, no longer looking at the female dissector, and bowed his head to continue dissecting corpses. Although Songwon's dissection was not slow, his mind was no longer on dissecting corpses. He was pondering the problem of his own body's corpse transformation, including Yuan Qing within. Everyone in the corpse dissection cave thought he, like other mad dissectors, had been confused due to the murky chi of heaven and earth and the residual souls within the cave. However, Songwon knew it was not like this at all. His confusion stemmed from the effects of cultivating the Corpse King blood refining technique, not from problems within the cave itself. Just now, it was due to the Corpse King blood refining technique that his consciousness was polluted, not a simple contamination. It was due to the long-term excessive refinement of corpse aura during cultivation, enhancing his physical body while causing excessive corpse transformation. This is the price of cultivating demonic Dao techniques. This was not the first time he had experienced excessive corpse transformation, but in previous instances where corpse transformation clouded his mind, he had relied on his formidable spiritual power comparable to an 8th-layer foundation-building cultivator to forcibly regain clarity. However, this time, perhaps influenced by the female corpse, it triggered a bloodthirsty ability, causing his mind to completely lose control. Demonic Dao techniques inherently come with various side effects. One of their characteristics is that while cultivation progresses rapidly, various strange symptoms often appear. However, the consequences of cultivating the Corpse King blood refining technique erupted prematurely. Facing corpse transformation before breaking through to the later stages of foundation building, who would dare to cultivate it? Moreover, above this technique, there seems to be no record of how to resolve the issue of corpse transformation, which is the most fatal flaw. Ultimately, demonic Tao techniques are still immortal cultivation techniques created for the sake of prolonging life. However, it now seems that the Corpse King blood refining technique is more like a short-lived technique. When Shou entrusted me alone with this Corpse King blood refining technique, he must have had ulterior motives, murmured Song. When in his heart, Songwen harbored many grievances, but he knew he had no other choice and thus harbored no regrets. Whether he cultivated the Corpse King blood refining technique or not, he couldn't avoid Shou's targeting as a temporary measure. He needed to find a solution to the corpse transformation problem as quickly as possible. Shou must have omitted parts of the Corpse King blood refining technique, including methods to deal with corpse transformation, since the first manifestation of corpse transformation. Song had been pondering how to resolve the issue. The root cause was the excessive refinement of corpse aura during cultivation of the Corpse King blood refining technique, leading to corpse transformation. To solve the problem of corpse transformation, efforts must be made to harmonize the internal corpse aura. After inquiring from various sources and spending a considerable amount of spirit stones, he finally learned from Chen Yi through Master Zhang Xiaofan in the Golden Core stage that a spiritual medicine named Hollow Cicada wood could effectively harmonize corpse aura. However, while Hollow Cicada wood could harmonize corpse aura, it was ultimately only a symptomatic treatment, not a fundamental solution. To completely resolve the issue of corpse transformation, one had to start with the technique itself. With Song Wen's current strength, it was unrealistic to demand the complete Corpse King blood refining technique from Shou. Therefore, he decided to first find Hollow Cicada wood to address the current issue. As for the complete version of the Corpse King blood refining technique, he would slowly pursue it in the future. Hollow Cicada wood is a relatively rare spiritual material, growing 1 inch every 100 years. Given Song Wen's current state of corpse transformation, he needed a Hollow Cicada wood that was at least 300 years old to completely harmonize the corpse aura. Song Wen searched the entire market district but couldn't find Hollow Cicada wood. 4 months ago, at a large spiritual medicine shop controlled by the Corpse Demon sect, during an annual auction, he had seen this item. That Hollow Cicada wood was already 400 years old, meeting Song Wen's requirements. However, it was ultimately taken by a foundation building elder of the Corpse Demon sect for 2,300 spirit stones. After much consideration, Song Wen ultimately didn't have the courage to compete for the treasure. With the foundation building expert, he knew that even if he succeeded in bidding, he wouldn't be able to keep that Hollow Cicada wood. Once outside the auction house, even though violence was prohibited in the market district, foundation building experts could easily kill him without anyone noticing. 3 hours later, Song Wen finally finished dissecting the corpse. After his recent confusion, he dared to continue dissecting because he knew that the recent corpse transformation had consumed some of the corpse aura within him. For his body to regain control over corpse transformation, he needed to wait for the corpse aura to recover. If he didn't actively refine and cultivate corpse aura, this process would take about half a month. End of the chapter. Chapter 74. Today happened to be the day for his monthly stipend. After delivering the dissected corpse to Yuan Cheng, Song Wen received his monthly stipend of 30 spirit stones. Over the past year and a half, Song Wen had not dared to slacken his cultivation. 2 months ago, he advanced to the 6th layer of qi refining. Since then, his condition of corpse transformation had gradually worsened. After advancing to the 6th layer of qi refining, Song Wen also managed to conceal his aura to the 4th layer of qi refining. In nearly 2.5 years, he had reached the middle stage of qi refining. Among the outer disciples of the Corpse Demon sect, this was considered above average. With good fortune, there was a chance he could advance to the later stage of qi refining within 6 years and become an inner disciple. After breaking through to the middle stage of qi refining, his treatment improved, earning an additional 10 spirit stones per month. When Song Wen left the corpse dissection cave, he informed Yuan Cheng that he would take a month off to deal with his corpse transformation issue. Yuan Cheng readily agreed, privately believing that Song Wen would probably not return alive after a month, most likely never to return. In the past, those mad dissectors in the corpse dissection cave, when facing mental collapse, mostly chose to venture outside in search of opportunities. However, among those who truly returned alive and resolved their mental issues, only 1 in 10 survived. They either died in various crises while seeking opportunities or when their minds completely collapsed, became walking corpses, or worse, were slaughtered by their loved ones or fellow disciples, becoming opportunities for others. Returning to his cave residence after disguising himself, Songwon packed up some belongings and headed towards the market. On the way to the market, Songwon found a secluded corner with no one around, withdrew the concealment of his aura against his cultivation base, and fully revealed his sixth layer of chi refining cultivation. At this point, he had transformed into the appearance of a pale-faced, young wandering cultivator. After examining himself, Songwon felt it wasn't secure enough. He took out a cloak to cover his entire body, put on a ghostly mask with raised eyebrows and fangs, and nodded in satisfaction. Arriving at the market, Songwon entered an inn, crossed the main hall, and arrived at a thatched house in the inn's backyard. After showing a wooden token to the guard in front of the thatched house, he was allowed entry. Entering the thatched house, he saw a narrow staircase leading underground. Descending the stairs for tens of meters, the view suddenly opened up. An underground hall of about several acres appeared before him, surrounded by several small caves. There were many cultivators coming and going in the hall, both wandering cultivators and disciples of the corpse demon sect. Most of them concealed their appearances. Even though Songwon wore a cloak and a ghostly mask, he didn't look out of place here. This was an underground ghost market established by a nascent soul ancestor of the corpse demon sect. Here, cultivators could trade for the cultivation resources they wanted and also buy some information. In such a ghost market for cultivators, the authenticity of goods and information couldn't be guaranteed. It was up to cultivators to judge for themselves. In the center of the hall, there was a circular counter where several old men sat. They were the managers of this ghost market, mainly responsible for facilitating trades between cultivators and exchanging information, somewhat like brokers in the mortal world. Songwon approached one of the old men again and presented the wooden token. After the old man glanced at the number engraved on the wooden token, he stepped out from behind the counter and led Songwon to one of the caves at the edge of the hall. Over a month ago, Songwon had entered this underground ghost market through the introduction of Senior Su, the stall owner. He had spent 12 spirit stones to purchase information about hollow cicada wood from the old man. According to the information, a cultivator had seen traces of hollow cicada wood in a cave in the ancient battlefield of righteousness and evil. However, the hollow cicada wood was guarded by a powerful grudge ghost, and no one had succeeded in retrieving it. It was rumored that tens of thousands of years ago, there was a great battle between the righteous and evil factions in the ancient battlefield. Unable to defeat the evil cultivators, the righteous cultivators resorted to sacrificing countless mortal lives, using their flesh and souls to set up a blood god array, slaughtering a large number of righteous cultivators. TL note. Such righteousness. Tens of thousands of years later, the true cause of that battle was no longer traceable. The numerous bones buried in the ancient battlefield, the wandering spirits drifting everywhere, the numerous walking corpses, and the perennial corpse aura and een aura everywhere all testify to the ferocity of that ancient battle. Although the ancient battlefield is dangerous, it hides many rare treasures and secrets. From time to time, cultivators find fragments of powerful magic, artifacts left over from the great battle, and some have even discovered techniques. In the caves of the ancient battlefield, unique spiritual herbs have also been found. This attracts many cultivators to seek opportunities, but most of them are at the chi refining stage. The ancient battlefield has long been searched by predecessors countless times. The truly powerful magic artifacts and techniques have already been taken by them. What remains are mostly things others have overlooked. Songwon's goal on this trip was to join a team venturing into the caves to obtain the hollow cicada wood. This is why Songwon exposed his full cultivation level. His cultivation was already not very high, and if he concealed it, he would easily be looked down upon by these desperate fighters, which would bring unnecessary trouble. The old man led Songwon to the cave entrance and then turned to leave. Songwon entered the cave alone. Inside the cave, there were already 3 men and 1 woman. Seeing Songwon enter, a middle-aged man exuding a strong ghostly aura spoke up. "Are you the one with the flying boat?" Songwon nodded without speaking. Getting a positive answer, the middle-aged man said again, "All right. Everyone is here. Let's introduce ourselves." At this moment, a burly man beside them stared at Songwon and spoke harshly. "Wait. Nyoding, never travel with people who hide their faces. They love to stab people in the back." Hearing this, the corner of Songwon's mouth twitched, thinking, "This Nyoding is quite perceptive." Immediately, Songwen removed his mask and cloak, revealing the pale face of a young cultivator. Seeing Songwen so cooperative, the displeasure on Niu Ding's face disappeared. He said, "I am Niu Ding, 7th layer of Qi refining." The middle-aged man said, "Shen Yi, 7th layer of Qi refining." Songwen said, "Guotao, 6th layer of Qi refining." Without hesitation, Songwen gave the false name Guotao. Actually, the others might not be using their real names either. Among demonic cultivators, few reveal their true names at this moment. Only one man and one woman had not introduced themselves. Unlike the others who intentionally kept their distance from each other, these two stood very close, clearly familiar with and trusting each other. The man had an ordinary appearance, the kind that would be unnoticeable in a crowd. The woman, however, had a graceful figure and outstanding looks, exuding a mature charm of a young woman, but her expression was cold, keeping people at a distance. The man glanced at the woman, seeing she had no intention of speaking, and said, "I am Lao Chun, 6th layer of Qi refining." He pointed to the young woman and said, "This is my senior sister, Ze, 7th layer of Qi refining." End of the chapter. Chapter 75. After everyone introduced themselves, Xianyi spoke. "This trip to the ancient battlefield is fraught with dangers before we set off. I hope everyone can be honest and share what they are seeking. If our goals do not conflict, that would be best. If they do, we might have to reconsider our team." Xianyi meant that if there were no conflicts of interest among the group, they could cooperate. However, if they sought the same treasures, especially if the quantity was limited, conflicts would inevitably arise. Xianyi, clearly experienced in team adventures, was cautious and aimed to avoid conflicts as much as possible. He continued, "To show my sincerity, I will start. My goal in the ancient battlefield's underground cave is the snake scale fruit. The snake scale fruit is a spiritual fruit with a skin resembling snake scales. When consumed for the first time, it helps Qi refining stage cultivators break through their bottlenecks. However, it has no effect if taken again." For Xianyi to venture deep into the ancient battlefield for the snake scale fruit, it was evident that he had encountered a bottleneck in his cultivation, likely being stuck there for a long time. Xianyi added, "There are quite a few snake scale fruits in the underground cave. If any fellow Taoist is interested, we can work together to obtain them and split the fruits." The underground cave in the ancient battlefield has numerous branches and paths. Their team was temporary and didn't necessarily have to risk their lives for others' goals. After reaching the underground cave, if their targets differed, they could part ways at any time. This was why Songwen wanted to find people to team up with. The underground cave had too many branches and it was dark without any reference points, without someone familiar with the terrain to guide them. Relying only on a simple map from the black market, it would be easy to get lost in the complex cave system. The area where the snake scale fruit grows must be guarded by many snake-type demonic beasts, making it difficult to pick the fruit. Therefore, Xianyi hoped that after reaching the underground cave, someone would join him in collecting the snake scale fruits and share the risks. Niu Ding, with a deep voice, said, "I am only here to retrieve my big brother's body." According to the survivor who was with him, "My big brother died not far from the snake cave." "Xianyi, we can go together then." Xianyi's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and he said, "All right." Songwen glanced at Niu Ding curiously. If what he said was true, he seemed like someone worth befriending. To risk his life to retrieve his brother's body suggested he wasn't a person of great evil. However, Songwen wondered how much truth was in his words. Was he really there for his brother's body, or for some treasure on it? "I am here for the hollow cicada wood." Songwen didn't conceal his goal. The information about the hollow cicada wood in the underground cave of the ancient battlefield was already known to many. Xianyi responded, "The hollow cicada wood is deep in the cave and it's quite dangerous. It won't be easy to obtain." Songwen nodded, "Thank you for the warning, Taoist." At this moment, Lao Chun spoke, "My senior sister and I are here to obtain a Forsythia. Our master, who is also her father, has been poisoned by a bronze corpse and Forsythia is needed to detoxify him." Bronze corpses are zombies comparable to Foundation establishment stage cultivators. Hearing this, Xianyi hesitated. The place where Forsythia grows is even deeper than the hollow cicada wood and extremely dangerous. Even if we all go together, it might be hard to reach safely. Xianyi's words were clearly a way to decline. He implied that the place where Forsythia grows was too dangerous and the senior sister and brother duo would have to go alone without expecting help from others. Ze, who had not spoken until now, said in a cold voice, "If any Taoist is willing to help, regardless of the outcome, I am willing to pay each person 500 spirit stones as a reward. If successful, I will add another 500 spirit stones." Her words drew the attention of the others. There were 3 people besides Lao Chun. If they all agreed to go, Ze would have to pay 1,500 spirit stones. If they successfully obtained the forsythia, the total payment would be 3,000 spirit stones. 3,000 spirit stones would be enough to purchase a forsythia plant. Perhaps noticing the others' doubts, Ze explained, "My father is severely poisoned and urgently needs forsythia. Unfortunately, there is none for sale in the market at the moment. So my senior brother and I have no choice but to venture out." After hearing this, the 3 nodded in agreement, especially Song-won, who was in a similar situation. He didn't lack the spirit stones to buy the hollow cicada wood. If he had enough time, he could have posted a high-priced mission in the black market to purchase it. Generous rewards always attract brave men. However, time was pressing, so he had no choice but to take the risk and go himself. But with Z revealing that she had a lot of spirit stones, wasn't she afraid that someone might harbor ill intentions and kill her for her wealth? Or perhaps she had some reliance and wasn't afraid of the other 3. Or maybe she didn't have enough spirit stones and was just luring them into taking risks for her. Since our goals don't conflict, let's make the most of our time and set off immediately. Ze fixed her gaze on Song-won, urging him to depart quickly. Among the group, only Song-won had a flying boat. To depart, they needed his consent. Song-won's cultivation level was the lowest among them. They agreed to let him join the team because of his flying boat. With a flying boat, they could greatly reduce travel time and the risk of crossing the ancient battlefield. Prepared for this outing for many days, Song-won nodded, "I can depart at any time." Song-won knew that this trip to the ancient battlefield was extremely risky. Not only was the battlefield itself full of dangers, but there were also many robbers who killed for treasures, including members of the team who might turn against each other at any time. For this reason, he spent spirit stones like water, buying various life-saving items. After all, the greatest tragedy for a person is dying before spending all their spirit stones. He wore a top-grade soft armor, an item he spent 1,800 spirit stones on. This price was enough to buy 2 or 3 similar-grade offensive items. Song-won, with his current low level of magical power, couldn't sustain the soft armor for long, but in a crisis, he could still activate it for a short time. Moreover, the soft armor, named Purple Scale Armor, was different from the Ghost Head Shield. The shield required spiritual power to activate its defense, whereas the Purple Scale Armor provided a certain level of defense even without activation. Additionally, he purchased 5 top-grade first-level defensive talismans called Vajra talismans. He had also reached the proficient stage in his cultivation of the 10,000 poison body technique and developed a powerful physical body with the Corpse King blood refinement technique. He was confident that he could withstand a full-force attack from a 9th-level chi refining cultivator. For offense, he bought a medium-grade magical weapon, the soul-breaking awl. He also coated his mother-son poison needles with the potent poison Heavenly Fire. TL note: Heavenly Fire, previously translated as Fire Burns the Sky. A venom song. When purchased in over the past 2 months, the population of his black-bellied beetle goo had grown to over a dozen. To sustain such a large number, he consumed nearly 10 spirit stones daily. To his disappointment, there had been no new mutations among the beetles in the past year, and none had evolved into a stronger form. However, 9 of the beetles had grown to the strength of 5th-level chi refining over the year. End of the chapter. Chapter 76. The corpse puppet had also fully recovered, now possessing the combat strength of the 6th level of chi refining, to deal with the pervasive vengeful spirits and walking corpses in the ancient battlefield. Song-won also purchased 10 each of the ghost-slaying talismans and corpse-suppressing talismans, both of which were mid-grade first-level talismans. He had 1 thunder talisman left and had wanted to buy more, but after searching the entire market, he couldn't find another. Against vengeful spirits and walking corpses, thunder-type spells had the greatest deterrent effect. Additionally, Song-won prepared many commonly used talismans and pills. He had talismans like the Haste Talisman, Fireball Talisman, and Flight Talisman, and pills such as healing pills, chi-replenishing pills, and detoxification pills. Seeing Song-won nod, Xian Yi and Yo Ding had no objections, so the group decided to set off immediately. Outside the market, Song-won took out his flying boat. In an instant, the flying boat expanded to 2 meters long, hovering in front of the group. With all 5 of them aboard, it felt a bit crowded. As the owner and controller of the flying boat, Song-won chose the safest spot at the stern. In front of him sat Xianyi, followed by Niu Ding and Lao Chun, while Zi, who preferred to keep some distance from the others, sat at the bow with 5 people on board. The boat was somewhat overloaded, and its speed was affected. However, it was still much faster than traveling on foot. After 3 hours of flight, night had fallen. Songwen found an open space and landed the boat, allowing everyone to rest for the night. Zi had suggested traveling through the night, noting that the ancient battlefield was over 1,000 miles from the corpse demon sect. Even with the flying boat, it would take 3 days to reach. Anxious to save her father, she wanted to reach the battlefield as quickly as possible. However, Songwen flatly refused. Piloting the flying boat consumed a significant amount of his spiritual and mental energy. For his own safety, he would not agree to Ziyi's request. He didn't want to face the numerous dangers of the ancient battlefield in an exhausted state. At the end of the 3rd day, they finally arrived over the ancient battlefield. Visiting the ancient battlefield for the first time, Songwen was deeply shocked by the scene before him. For thousands of miles, the land was a bright red, as if stained by blood from millennia ago that had never faded. There was no greenery, only decayed bones scattered everywhere, a few rotten trees sporadically sticking out from the ground, and the remnants of broken human structures. Desolation, decay, and rot mixed with a thick atmosphere of ghostly and corpse-like aura permeated the entire land. This place didn't seem like part of the human world, but more like the legendary scenes of hell. After a brief moment of shock, Songwen turned to Xianyi. Xianyi, what should we do now? Over the past few days, Songwen had learned that Xianyi had been to the ancient battlefield 3 times. Niu Ding once, and Lao Chun and Zi, like him, were visiting for the first time in an unfamiliar and dangerous place. It was natural to follow the arrangements of those who were familiar with it. Xianyi pointed to a spot in the ancient battlefield and said, "We need to go to a cave in the southwest, about 400 miles from here. It will take about an hour by flying boat. Now the sun is already to the west, and by the time we reach the cave, it will likely be evening. And at night, the ghosts and walking corpses in the ancient battlefield become more active and the danger increases greatly. Therefore, I suggest we rest here and set out early tomorrow morning." Everyone exchanged glances and nodded in agreement. Only Zi was a bit unhappy. She looked at Songwen with a faint resentment in her eyes. She felt that if Songwen had been willing to fly a bit longer each day over the past few days, they could have entered the cave this morning and wouldn't have wasted a whole day. The night passed without incident. At dawn the next day, everyone boarded the flying boat and set off, flying over the desolate ancient battlefield. Even with the sun shining brightly, they could still see the occasional wandering corpses and ghostly figures below. Although they disliked the righteousness in the sunlight, the early morning rays seemed to have little effect on them. They still roamed this ancient and vast land, like ravenous beasts searching for food. Fortunately, the flying boat flew at a considerable height, avoiding the notice of the creatures below, while the wandering corpses couldn't fly and thus couldn't attack the airborne boat. Ghostly beings could float. If they were surrounded by a large number of ghosts, Songwen and his companions would likely face many difficulties. After flying for over an hour, the boat arrived above the cave. Below was a massive, bottomless black cavern with gusts of chilling wind constantly blowing out of the entrance. The cave resembled a giant beast lying on the ground, its maw open wide as if ready to devour any living being that dared to enter. Evoking a sense of fear, "Let's go." Xianyi took the lead, jumping off the flying boat, followed by the other 4. As soon as Songwen landed, he felt the eerie atmosphere of the ancient battlefield. The dense corpse energy seemed to have a life of its own, continuously drilling into his body, making him, already threatened by corpse energy, extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, the battlefield was filled with numerous lingering spirits. Although their density didn't match that of the corpse-dissolving cave, their overall number far exceeded it. In just a short time, several remnants of spirits had been absorbed by Songwen's body, entering his sea of consciousness. For Songwen, this was somewhat good news under such conditions. His mental energy recovery rate far exceeded that of ordinary people. Xianyi activated his flying technique and leapt into the cave, gradually descending into its depths. The remaining 4 followed suit, entering the cave after Xianyi. After descending over 100 meters, they finally reached the bottom. The cave was pitch black, with no light at all. All 5 were cultivators and could use their spiritual senses to observe their surroundings. The darkness didn't affect them much. The inability to see was more of a sensory discomfort. Suddenly, A fist-sized sphere appeared in Xianye's hand, emitting a faint white glow. The sphere floated up, stopping about a meter above Xianye's head, illuminating an area of several dozen meters around them. This was a luminous stone. Commonly used by cultivators for lighting, it required only a small amount of spiritual power to glow for a long time. Let's go. For this first part, we need to proceed on foot. Later, as our goals differ, we might part ways, but for now, we're all in this together. I hope we can support each other and face the dangers ahead together. With that, Xianyi led the way deeper into the cave. Songwen followed closely behind. Xianyi had been trying hard to unite this makeshift team, which gave Songwen a good impression of him. Moreover, Xianyi was familiar with the terrain, making him a good guide to follow. End of the chapter. Chapter 77. The cave was winding and rugged, with jagged rocks all around. Constant vigilance was required to avoid dangers lurking in the darkness, thus the group did not move quickly. While advancing, Songwen suddenly felt a throb in his heart, his brows furrowed slightly. But in an instant his brows relaxed, and he continued forward without a hint of emotion, not attracting anyone's attention. Just now, he had released his beetle goo, which discovered traces of zombies about 100 meters ahead. Fortunately, according to the information from the beetle goo, there were only a dozen zombies ahead. Moreover, their strength was not formidable, comparable to cultivators who had just entered the middle stage of chi refining. The corpse poison on them was troublesome, but for a corpse path cultivator like Songwen, it posed no threat. Upon entering the underground cave, Songwen noticed that the beetle goo thrived unusually well here. The beetle goo, adept at concealment, became even more undetectable in this dark cave filled with corpse and ghostly auras. The dense corpse and ghostly auras perfectly masked the beetle goo's presence. Here, the beetle goo was like a dragon returning to the sea or a tiger to the mountain, perfectly at ease. The group advanced another 400 meters when Xianyi, at the front, finally noticed the presence of zombies. Be careful, there are zombies, Xianyi warned. Actually, even without his warning, Niuding and Zi, both at the 7th level of chi refining, had already detected the zombies. Everyone, deal with them quickly. Avoid using large-scale spells to prevent attracting more zombies and ghosts, Xianyi instructed, after speaking without any visible movement. A fierce ghost comparable to a cultivator at the 6th level of chi refining appeared before him. The fierce ghost, over 2 meters tall with a burly build, wore tattered armor and wielded a long knife, resembling a seasoned battlefield veteran. Lao Chun and Zi each held a broken blade, clearly intending to engage in close combat. Niuding exhaled 2 breaths of turbid air, his muscles visibly bulging as he continued forward empty-handed. It was clear that Niuding, like Songwen, was a rare body cultivator. Songwen pulled his corpse puppet closer, hiding completely behind it. 4. Safety. He had released the corpse puppet upon entering the cave. The fierce ghost charged into the group of zombies first. The long knife in its hands seemed solid, slicing a zombie in half, black liquid spilling everywhere. Niuding followed violently, quickly approaching a zombie and slapping its head, causing it to explode with black liquid splattering, and the body collapsed lifelessly. Lao Chun and Zi, obviously from the same lineage, displayed agile movements, directly engaging the zombies. Like agile leopards, they swiftly killed the zombies, their daggers striking like hunting vipers, hitting the zombies' weakest points with precision. By the time Songwen, hiding behind the corpse puppet, approached, the zombies were almost all killed. To avoid appearing idle to the other 4, Songwen controlled his corpse puppet to attack one of the few remaining zombies. The zombie with stiff limbs was no match for the corpse puppet, which was stronger and more agile. The corpse puppet easily dodged the zombie's attacks and then thrust its left hand, piercing through the zombie's chest. The zombie, with its chest pierced, did not lose its mobility, and its hands clung to the corpse puppet's shoulders, attempting to bite its face, unyielding. The corpse puppet bit the zombie's neck in return. This scene left Songwen dumbfounded. Though born from the same root, why torment each other so eagerly? Everyone here is a corpse, strictly speaking, all considered a type of zombie, so why should corpses trouble other corpses? Songwen's gaze remained vigilant, constantly watching the surrounding zombies to prevent any ambush. The others were much quicker at killing the zombies. Songwen hadn't even dealt with his first one yet, and there were already no standing zombies left on the field. Just as Songwen thought they had easily dealt with this group of zombies, he suddenly felt the ground under his feet loosen as if something was about to burst out from the soil. To Songwen's surprise, a zombie broke through the ground and jumped up. Songwen had noticed this corpse earlier, thinking it was just an ordinary body since half of it was buried in the soil. The dense corpse and ghostly auras in the cave made it hard to distinguish whether it was a corpse or a zombie. The other four, having dealt with the remaining zombies, also noticed the disturbance on Song Wen's side. Their reactions varied. Xianyi remained indifferent, standing in place with an aloof expression. Niu Ding, eager to help, seemed a bit slow in his movements. Lao Chun wanted to throw his dagger to kill the zombie, but Zi stopped him with a cold glare. Song Wen, facing the suddenly attacking zombie, remained composed. He bent his legs and lowered his body, dodging the zombie's sharp claws. Then, with a swift uppercut, he punched the zombie's chin. The zombie's head exploded like a fragile watermelon, splattering everywhere, except for Zi, who pursed his lips in displeasure. The others showed little reaction to Song Wen's easy dispatching of the zombie. Let's continue on our way. Afterward, they encountered two more waves of zombies and a group of ghosts. Fortunately, the zombies and ghosts they encountered were not strong, and there were not many of them, so they were easily dealt with. It's worth mentioning that the cave had many forks. If not for Xianyi leading the way, Songwen felt that even with the simple map he got from the underground ghost market, he could easily get lost. Leading the way, Xianyi suddenly came to Songwen's side and said, "Brother Guatao, there's a fork ahead, Nyoding and I will take the left path to the snake cave. Hollow cicada wood and forsythia are on the right path." Songwen looked at Xianyi without speaking. Xianyi continued, "I would like to invite Brother Guatao to join Nyoding and me in retrieving the snake scale fruit first, and then I will accompany you to get the hollow cicada wood." "Why me?" Songwen asked, puzzled. With only the strength of a 6th level Qi refining cultivator, Xianyi should logically seek help from Zi. If I'm not mistaken, Brother Guatao should be a body cultivator, right? I have already planned for retrieving the snake scale fruit and need a body cultivator's assistance. With Brother Nyoding, I have a 60% chance of success. If you join us, the chance increases to 80%. Seeing Songwen neither agree nor refuse immediately, Xianyi suddenly switched to a voice transmission. "Brother Guatao, consider this carefully. If you insist on retrieving the hollow cicada wood, you will have to go with Zi alone." As he spoke, Xianyi intentionally glanced at Zi a few times. He implied that there was a conflict between Songwen and Zi. Songwen had the lowest cultivation among the 5. Without the deterrence of Nyoding and Xianyi, there was no guarantee that Zi would not take the opportunity to attack Songwen. End of the chapter. Chapter 78. Songwen appeared deep in thought. He didn't take Zi's faint hostility too seriously. He was confident that even if he couldn't defeat Lao Chun and Zi together, he could still escape unscathed. Just using the blood escape technique would make it impossible for Zi and Lao Chun to catch up. He was contemplating whether it would be safer to retrieve the hollow cicada wood alone or to have Xianyi, who was familiar with the terrain, accompany him. After pondering for a while, Songwen said, "Fine, I'll go with you to get the snake scale fruit first, but you must promise to accompany me to get the hollow cicada wood afterward." Xianyi's face lit up with joy, and he said, "Don't worry. As long as we get the snake scale fruit, I will definitely accompany you." Songwen nodded, accepting the promise. As for whether Xianyi would keep his word, Songwen wasn't too concerned if Xianyi reneged. Songwen had ways to ensure he fulfilled his promise soon. The 5 of them reached the fork Xianyi had mentioned, learning that Xianyi, Nyoding, and Songwen were all going left towards the snake cave. Zi decisively bade them farewell. Her father's poisoning was severe, and she couldn't afford to waste time, so she hurried towards the direction of Forsythia. After Zi and Lao Chun left, Xianyi led Songwen and Nyoding down the left path. As they walked, Xianyi asked, "Nyoding, can you now tell us where your brother's body is?" Nyoding had not revealed the exact location of his brother's body earlier. "According to the survivors who were with my brother, they came to the cave to get the snake scale fruit. Before they reached the snake cave, they were attacked by a group of ghosts. Among the ghosts were vengeful spirits with power comparable to late-stage Qi refining cultivators. My brother was surrounded by the vengeful spirits and couldn't escape. If he was attacked by vengeful spirits, there's a chance we could find his body. If it were zombies, finding his body would be nearly impossible. Xianyi side ghosts feed on souls and the essence of cultivators, while zombies feed on corpses and flesh. A vengeful spirit might leave a whole body, but a zombie would leave no remains." "How long has it been since your brother's accident?" Xianyi asked. "A month." "Has it been a whole month?" Xianyi muttered. Xianyi wasn't too concerned about finding Nyoding's brother's body. As long as he accompanied Nyoding, he fulfilled his promise. The final result was beyond his control. What Xianyi was more interested in was the information revealed in Niu Ding's words. During the previous journey, Xianyi learned that Niu Ding's brother was at the 8th level of qi refining. If someone of that strength was killed by vengeful spirits, their group could be in serious danger if they encountered the same spirits. Hopefully, those roaming vengeful spirits had left after a month. The three of them walked for over an hour in the winding passage. The previously 5-meter-wide passage suddenly opened up into a spacious, irregular cave about 100 meters wide. On the walls of the cave were hundreds of various-sized nests, pointing to a spot about 100 meters ahead. Niu Ding said, "This should be where my brother had his accident." Niu Ding's words made Songwen and Xianyi tense up, becoming extremely cautious. Their footsteps involuntarily slowed down. The cave was very quiet, so quiet that Songwen could hear his own heartbeat and breathing. "Everyone, don't speak. Communicate using the voice transmission technique." Xianyi's voice echoed in Songwen and Niu Ding's minds. "Niu Ding, hurry and find your brother's body, but be careful not to make too much noise. Those nests give me a dangerous feeling." For a cultivator at the 7th level of qi refining, the range of their spiritual power generally covers about 100 meters. Of course, due to different talents, there may be slight differences, but generally not by much. Only those who have specifically trained their spiritual power can significantly exceed this range. They were now about 200 meters away from the cave, well beyond the spiritual sensing range of Niu Ding and Xianyi. They could only vaguely see the nests on the distant cave walls with the help of the glowing stones. As Niu Ding was about to slowly enter the cave to search for his brother's body, he heard Song Wen's voice transmission. "No need to search, there's only one body in the 8th nest from the bottom left. There are no other human bodies in the nests." Hearing Song Wen's transmission, Niu Ding and Xianyi were full of disbelief. The nests were 200 meters away and Song Wen was only at the 6th level of qi refining. Could Song Wen be hiding his true cultivation level? Maybe he was a cultivator at the peak of qi refining. "Don't overthink it, I just have stronger spiritual power than most," Song Wen explained via voice transmission to avoid unnecessary trouble. Hearing Song Wen's explanation, the two didn't dwell on it. Niu Ding asked via voice transmission, "Brother Guotao, are you sure?" Song Wen nodded and replied, "I'm sure. The body is 10 meters inside the nest entrance. It's a male body, tall, about 7 feet, but it has dehydrated and become a dried corpse." Niu Ding's face lit up with joy and he replied via voice transmission, "It should be right, that's my brother's body." Seeing that Niu Ding was about to rush towards the nest, Song Wen reminded him via voice transmission, "Taoist Niu, you'd better be cautious. The nests are interconnected and very deep. Although I haven't sensed any ghosts, I still feel very uneasy. Your brother's body might not be easy to retrieve." After entering the cave, Song Wen had been using beetle goo insects to scout ahead. The beetle goo had initially scouted the periphery of the nests and found no ghosts, but Song Wen hadn't let them venture deeper into the nests. He was worried that powerful ghosts in the nests might discover and destroy the beetles, which would be a significant loss. After all, it was Niu Ding who was taking the risk, not Song Wen. Finding Niu Ding's brother's body was already going above and beyond. Seeing that both Song Wen and Xianyi had warned of the dangers, Niu Ding, who had been eager, stopped and asked for advice via voice transmission. "Taoist Xianyi, do you have any ideas?" Xianyi replied via voice transmission, "We don't know what's inside the nests. Acting rashly is too dangerous. We need to find out if there are any ghosts, how many there are, and how strong they are." Niu Ding said, "According to my brother's companions, they encountered over 100 ghosts here, including at least 20 powerful vengeful spirits. Over 20 powerful vengeful spirits comparable to late-stage qi refining." Song Wen's eyes widened upon hearing this. The presence of over 20 vengeful spirits made him want to flee immediately. Such a large number of vengeful spirits, plus nearly 100 weaker ghosts, was something qi refining cultivators could hardly withstand. What kind of treasure did Niu Ding's brother have that made Niu Ding willing to take such a huge risk to retrieve his body? Song Wen now completely disbelieved that Niu Ding was only here for a body. End of the chapter. Chapter 79. Xianyi glanced at Song Wen, who was clearly considering retreating, and transmitted a message. "Taoist Niu, you dare to come here to retrieve your brother's body. You must have some preparations. Tell us about them, if the risks aren't too great. Guotao and I might help you. If it's too dangerous, you can't blame us for leaving." Niu Ding pondered for a moment before speaking. "I have some preparations, but I'm not entirely confident. I know Taoist Xianyi practices ghost cultivation. I hope you can use your fierce ghosts to draw out the spirits and vengeful ghosts from the nests, making it easier for me to retrieve my brother's body." Xianyi immediately refused. "That's impossible. I can't handle over 20 vengeful ghosts. Xian Yi was only at the 7th level of qi refining. Even with many techniques, he couldn't possibly defeat over 20 late-stage qi refining vengeful ghosts. He and Niu Ding had only met by chance. He wouldn't risk his life for him. Perhaps realizing that Xian Yi wouldn't agree without some incentive, Niu Ding patted his storage pouch, producing a stack of talismans. I have 10 ghost-slaying talismans and 4 evil exorcising talismans. I can share these with you. With these talismans and your skills, we should be able to escape unharmed. Evil exorcising talismans are top-grade first-level talismans, similar to ghost-slaying talismans, specifically designed to kill ghosts. As Songwon understood, evil exorcising talismans were quite valuable. Much more than ordinary top-grade first-level talismans, the 4 talismans Niu Ding offered were probably worth around 400 spirit stones. However, since Niu Ding only had 4 evil exorcising talismans, if he had 20, Songwon might consider taking the risk. After all, using one on each vengeful ghost, even if they didn't kill them, would at least buy some time, and Songwon was confident he could escape. Seeing no response from Songwon and Xian Yi, Niu Ding continued, I don't need you two to fight to the death for me. Just draw out most of the vengeful ghosts. After that, whether you fight or flee is up to you. Additionally, I have 1,000 spirit stones as payment for your help. Xian Yi frowned slightly, feeling tempted, and transmitted a message. Think carefully. If you get trapped in the nest, you'll surely die. According to Niu Ding, if they only needed to draw out the vengeful ghosts, the risk wasn't too high. Among the fierce ghosts Xian Yi raised, one was a goat-headed ghost with some intelligence and could act independently if things went wrong. He could let the fierce ghost act alone while he stayed far away. Losing one fierce ghost was a small price to pay. The value of the talismans and spirit stones Niu Ding offered far exceeded the value of the goat-headed ghost. Niu Ding said, You too. Needn't worry, life and death are fated. Whatever the outcome, I'll bear it myself. Xian Yi nodded, taking the talismans and spirit stones Niu Ding handed over. He took out 5 ghost-slaying talismans and 1 evil exorcising talisman, handing them to Songwon. Songwon shook his head and refused. My cultivation techniques and artifacts aren't effective against ghosts. I won't be of much help in this battle. These talismans should stay with you, Taoist Xian Yi. Songwon meant that he wouldn't take the benefits, so he wouldn't take the risk. 5 ghost-slaying talismans and 1 evil exorcising talisman were worth about 200 spirit stones. He wouldn't risk his life for such a small amount. Xian Yi didn't intend to give Songwon many spirit stones and talismans anyway. Without saying more, Xian Yi put away the talismans and spirit stones. A moment later, Xian Yi summoned a tall, goat-headed, humanoid fierce ghost. Under his control, the goat-headed ghost charged towards the nests on the cave wall. Roar. The goat-headed ghost ran to the base of the cave wall and suddenly let out a roar. It seemed as if the surrounding air began to boil and churn from the roar of the goat-headed ghost. Immediately, the entire cave, about 100 square meters in size, was filled with fierce winds and echoing sounds. The enormous roar pierced through the air, reaching deep into the nests within the cave. It was as if sleeping demons had been awakened, and the previously calm nests were now filled with surging energy and eerie ghostly aura. One after another, ghosts emerged continuously from the various nests on the cave wall, many of them being powerful, vengeful ghosts. Seeing this scene, Xian Yi's heart skipped a beat. Even though he had been mentally prepared, the sight of so many ghosts emerging made him tremble with fear. Not daring to stay for even a moment, he turned and ran, with the goat-headed ghost following closely behind. Xian Yi did not choose to run back the way he came but headed towards the direction of the serpent-scaled creature. The ghosts, seeing Xian Yi, had eerie green lights flashing in their eyes and swarmed towards him. In an instant, Xian Yi and most of the ghosts disappeared into the cave. At this moment, a burly figure quickly darted in, rushing into the cave and heading straight for the nests on the wall. Niu Ding quickly climbed up the cave wall and entered the nest Songwon had mentioned. Within 10 meters, he saw the long-awaited body of his elder brother. Niu Ding's face immediately showed an expression of wild joy, with no trace of sorrow at seeing his kin's corpse. Niu Ding pounced on the corpse, tearing off the storage pouch from its waist and inspecting it with his spiritual sense, only to reveal a look of disappointment. Then he frantically searched the corpse with his hands. Moments later, finding nothing, Niu Ding became somewhat agitated. He stood up and began searching the ground around the corpse. At this moment, Niu Ding's expression suddenly became flustered. He hurriedly took out a gray cloak from his storage pouch. He draped the cloak over himself and pressed his body tightly against the stone wall. Immediately, all of Niu Ding's aura disappeared and his body seemed to merge with the surrounding stone wall. Without physically touching him, it would be extremely difficult to detect that a person was hiding there. A vengeful ghost at the 8th level of chi refining appeared in the nest. It floated above the corpse, glancing around and sniffing the remaining scent in the air. It seemed puzzled. It clearly smelled a human scent but couldn't see any trace of a person. Could it be the lingering scent from the dead body? The vengeful ghost, not being very intelligent, couldn't figure it out and turned to leave the nest. Everything that happened in the ghost nest was seen by Songwon through his beetle goo, not intending to get involved in this mess. Songwon had returned to the cave passage they had previously walked through before the two had acted. He found a crack in the wall and hid in it. Using his physical body's ability to regulate his aura, Songwon completely concealed his presence. With an effect even stronger than Nyoding's cloak. Seeing everything that happened in the ghost nest, Songwon thought to himself, Nyoding risked entering the ancient battlefield's cave not for his brother's corpse but for some treasure on the body. That cloak must be an extremely rare treasure that can conceal one's aura and hide one's presence. This was the true confidence behind Nyoding's daring venture into the ghost nest. In this world of cultivation, one must not easily trust others. No one would reveal their true trump card. However, it was unknown what grade of treasure this cloak was, but since it could deceive a ghost at the 8th level of chi refining, it should at least be a high-level magical artifact. End of the chapter. Chapter 80. Seeing the vengeful ghost leave, Nyoding lifted the cloak off himself and once again approached the dried corpse on the ground. Having been startled by the vengeful ghost, Nyoding instead became calm, carefully searching the corpse inch by inch with his hands. When he touched the stomach area, Nyoding's expression changed. Applying a bit more pressure with his fingers, he pierced the dried corpse's abdomen, revealing a blood-red stone about the size of a chicken egg. Nyoding grabbed the bloodstone immediately, his face filled with joy. Before Nyoding could put away the bloodstone, the abdomen of the dried corpse suddenly exploded and a ghost the size of a large bowl burst out, rushing towards Nyoding's face. Nyoding had no time to react before the ghost landed on his face. At this moment, Nyoding could clearly see the ghost's appearance. It was a ghost infant, its body seemingly solid, as if it were the corpse of an infant turned into a ghost. The ghost infant was completely naked and entirely red, with a crazed grin on its face. The ghost infant's mouth split wide open to its ears, filled with countless sharp, tiny teeth. The ghost infant opened its mouth wide, almost splitting in two, and swallowed Nyoding's entire head in one bite. Being a late-stage chi-refining body cultivator with an exceptionally strong physique, Nyoding's head couldn't be crushed in one bite by the ghost infant. Nyoding felt countless sharp teeth gnawing frantically at his head and a long, barbed tongue scraping his face. In an instant, most of the flesh on his face was scraped away, exposing his white skull. Enduring the excruciating pain, Nyoding slapped the evil exorcising talisman onto the ghost infant. The evil exorcising talisman suddenly burst out with a blinding light, releasing terrifying spiritual power. GGG. Unprepared, the ghost infant bore the full brunt of the talisman's power, emitting a piercing scream. The ghost infant's body melted quickly like butter in boiling water. In an instant, most of the ghost infant's body disappeared, leaving it looking tattered like a rag doll. The ghost infant fell from Nyoding's head, hopping away on one leg with its remaining half-body towards the depths of the nest. Nyoding, having escaped death, panted heavily. In just that brief moment, the ghost infant had devoured most of the flesh on his head. Nyoding now looked incredibly ghastly. Half of his face's flesh and an eye had been eaten by the ghost infant, leaving only a stark white skull. The other half of his face was a bloody mess with no intact skin. In his current state, he looked more terrifying than a ghost. Without catching his breath, Nyoding rushed towards the nest's exit. Just as he reached the entrance of the nest, the ghost infant returned, followed by 6 vengeful ghosts and dozens of ordinary ghosts. Nyoding was terrified, his one remaining eye widening in horror as the premonition of death descended. He quickened his pace, attempting to leap out of the nest. Just as Nyoding was in midair, dozens of ghosts grabbed hold of him, dragging him back into the nest. Despite his desperate struggle, several bursts of spiritual power from the evil exorcising talismans injured many vengeful ghosts and destroyed several ordinary ghosts, but ultimately, Nyoding's figure did not make it out of the nest's entrance. Moments later, the nest fell silent. Only the sound of the ghost infant gnawing on the corpse remained. With only half its head left, the ghost infant chewed slowly, taking 2 full quarters of an hour to finish devouring Nyoding's remains. At this moment, the wraiths and vengeful ghosts that had been chasing Xianyi all returned to the cave. It was unclear if they had killed Xianyi, if Xianyi was dead, without him to lead the way. Finding the hollow Cicada would be much more difficult, silently observing everything happening in the ghost nest. Songwon pondered when he saw the ghost infant finish eating Nyo Ding's corpse and drag its broken body into the depths of the nest. While the other ghosts had long since disappeared and the entire nest became quiet again, Songwen's heart was stirred as he looked at the two storage bags, the concealment cloak and the bloodstone on the ground. The beetle goo burrowed through the soil and emerged from the ground. It first crawled to the side of the concealment cloak, comparing their sizes, then decisively left. It wasn't that the beetle goo couldn't move the concealment cloak. Although it was just an ordinary beetle goo with only first-level chi refining cultivation, it could still drag a cloak magic tool. However, moving the cloak would create a lot of noise. Having just witnessed the power of the ghosts, Songwon didn't dare risk alerting the ghosts in the depths of the nest. The beetle goo then approached the bloodstone. Nyo Ding had fought to the death for this treasure, but Songwon couldn't see anything unusual about it. However, the origin of this bloodstone was undoubtedly extraordinary. The beetle goo pushed the bloodstone with its back, using all 6 legs to forcefully roll it towards the nest entrance, like a dung beetle pushing a ball of dung. Soon, the bloodstone was pushed to the edge of the nest entrance. With a final push, the bloodstone fell to the ground below with a dull thud. The beetle goo didn't move immediately, lying on the ground for a long time. Seeing no reaction from the depths of the nest, it finally spread its wings and flew down. Landing on the bloodstone, the beetle goo grasped it firmly with its 6 legs and then took off. The weight of the bloodstone exceeded Songwen's expectations. The beetle goo struggled to fly but managed to move the bloodstone. The beetle goo flew close to the ground, dragging the bloodstone. Instead of flying directly towards Songwon, it headed in the opposite direction, towards where Xianyi had gone. After flying a distance of more than a mile, it found a crevice and dropped the bloodstone inside. Songwon waited in place for a short while longer. Seeing no further movement from the ghost nest, he emerged from his hiding place and headed in Xianye's direction. Carefully passing the cave where the ghosts nested, Songwon used the blood escape technique to advance at full speed. After retrieving the bloodstone, he traveled another dozen miles before finally finding Xianyi hiding in a small cave. Xianyi seemed in good condition. Songwon couldn't see any signs of a tough battle. It seemed Xianyi had easily escaped from the vengeful ghosts. No wonder he dared to implement Nyo Ding's plan. Brother Guatao, it's great to see you again. Did you see Nyo Ding? Xianyu asked. Songwon shook his head. I didn't see Nyo Ding come out of the ghost nest. I'm afraid the worst has happened. Xianyi sighed softly. What a pity. I had hoped Nyo Ding could help us obtain the snake scale fruit, but now. Songwon said, what should we do now? Xianyi looked down, calculated the time, and said, it's late now, it should be night outside. Although the underground cave is deep and dark, for some reason, the ghosts and zombies here prefer to rest during the day and are more active at night. We should wait until morning to act. Songwon nodded. All right, let's do as you say and move in the morning. Xianyi spent the night in his hiding place, while Songwon found another small cave dozens of meters away to rest. There wasn't much trust between them, so separating gave them both a sense of security. End of the chapter.